Welcome to another episode of Net Wins. The formula put Scottie Pippen number 9 all time. Here's why it's right. No result in this entire debate makes more our argument than this one. When the net wins formula was first posted on Reddit, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of comments, most of them about Scottie Pippen at number 9, not Kareem at number 1, not about Duncan at number 2, not about Jordan at number 3, Pippen. The reaction is the most interesting thing about this ranking, and it's worth taking seriously. The formula put him ninth. The crowd pushed back hard. One of those two things is wrong. This makes that case that it isn't just the formula. 17 seasons, 6 championships, 7 All-Star selections, 10 defensive team selections, the most feared wing defender of his generation. Look at the 1993-94 season. Jordan retired after the 92-93 season. Pippen inherited the Bulls, led them to 55 wins, more than most franchises managed with their best player healthy, and took them to Game 7 of the second round. His net wins that season, 6.47, one of the best individual regular season performances in the database that year, produced entirely without Jordan on the roster. The formula didn't need to know that Jordan was gone. It just saw a player whose contributions converted into wins at an elite rate. That's the answer to the sidekick argument. 6 championship runs produced 8.54 player net wins. 6 playoff runs, 6 positive net wins contributions, no negative playoff seasons. The formula rewards players whose positive contributions translated into wins in the most important games of the year. Pippen played in 90 playoff wins over 6 championship runs and produced positive net contributions in every one of those runs. That is an extraordinary record. It is a large part of why he ranks 9th all-time rather than 15th or 20th. The objection that everyone makes is he only won because of Jordan. This is the most common objection, and it deserves a direct answer. Yes, Jordan was the best player on those Bulls teams. Yes, Pippen benefited from playing alongside the greatest scorer in NBA history. Those things are true. But consider what the formula actually measures. It measures whether Pippen's individual positive actions, his points, his rebounds, his assists, his steals, his blocks, converted into wins at an elite rate relative to his teammates. It measures whether his negative actions, his missed shots, his turnovers, his fouls were minimized relative to how those actions typically contributed to losses on his specific teams. The formula's answer across 17 seasons is consistent. Yes on both counts. His positive contributions converted into wins at a higher rate than the average contributor on those teams. His negative contributions were kept low enough that they rarely showed up in the losses. Jordan doesn't appear anywhere in the calculation. The formula has no knowledge of who else was on the floor. It just sees Pippen's numbers relative to his team's win and loss rates. And what it sees across 17 seasons is a player who almost never hurt his team and consistently helped it win. The cleanest way to settle that sidekick debate, once again, is to look at the one season Jordan wasn't there. Pippen led the 93-94 Bulls to 55 wins. His net wins that season was 6.47. What the formula missed. The net wins formula counts steals and blocks. It doesn't capture positioning, communication, help defense rotations, or the psychological effect of the best wing defender in the league standing between an opponent and the basket. Pippen won 6 all-defensive first-team selections and 4 all-defensive second-team selections, 10 all-defensive teams total. That represents a decade of being recognized as the best or second-best defender at his position in the entire league. The formula sees the steals. 2,307 career steals, 5th all-time. It doesn't see the dozens of possessions per game where Pippen's positioning prevented a steal from being necessary. His true defensive impact is almost certainly larger than what the formula can measure. His ranking at 9th, in other words, may actually underestimate him. The gap between the formula's ranking and the conventional consensus between about 17 and 20 is the largest such gap for any player in the top 20. Every major system recognizes Pippen as a Hall of Famer and an all-time great. The disagreement is purely about degree. The net wins formula's position, a player who produces 10.63 in his peak season, 10.24 in his second season, or second best season, who has never had a negative playoff run across 6 championship appearances and produces 6.47 in a season his superstar teammate retires. That player belongs in the top 10. In his own words, he said, Michael and I are different players. He was the greatest scorer who ever lived, but I think people forget that I guarded their best player every single night. I set up the offense. I get everyone else involved. I was comfortable being everything the team needed me to be. People ask me what it felt like to play with Michael. I ask them what it felt like to have Scottie Pippen on their team, because that's the question most people never think to ask. Others said Scottie Pippen is the best small forward I've ever coached, and I coached some good ones. He could have been the best player in the league on any other team. I don't say that to diminish Michael. I simply say it because it's simply true. Phil Jackson. Michael Jordan said Pip was the key to everything we did. He guarded Magic. He guarded Drexler. He guarded Ewing. There was nobody he couldn't guard. That's a different kind of greatness than scoring. It's a harder kind. Charles Barkley said, if you put Scottie Pippen on a team with 3 average starters and 2 bench guys, they make the playoffs. He was the best player on the floor in every game he played, except the ones Michael was in. And even then, it was close. Pippen's placement at 9th is a test case for the entire methodology. If you think that the formula is wrong, you need to say exactly where it overcounts him. Is it the championships? Then you believe championships shouldn't count. Is it the defensive contribution? Then you believe steals and blocks overvalue defense. Is it the team context that Jordan inflated his numbers? Then you believe the same team context argument applies to every player on this list, including Jordan, Russell, and Bird. The formula is consistent. It applies the same logic to every player in every era. The gap between Jordan and Pippen is partly explained by Jordan's 2 retirements and his Washington years, by the careers they actually had, not the careers the narrative says they should have had. The distance between them is smaller than anyone has ever publicly acknowledged. That is the honest, uncomfortable conclusion the net wins formula delivers. Scottie Pippen was closer to Michael Jordan than the media, the public, or Pippen's own contract ever acknowledged. That's not a contrarian take. That's the math.